Hello and welcome. This presentation is for the woman who has already tried eating healthier. You've eliminated foods, you've tried probiotics, you've tried supplements. Maybe you've even tried a low FODMAP diet, and yet you're still bloated. Maybe you wake up feeling relatively fat and comfortable, but by the afternoon you're bloated and your stomach is distended and you just want to put your sweatpants or leggings back on. So if this sounds familiar, you're not alone. I want to welcome you to my mini training. You're eating healthy. So why are you still bloated? The root causes of bloating, energy, and weight that is stuck. So, why eating healthier isn't always the answer. So, if you've been eating healthy, cutting gluten, dairy, and trying gut friendly supplements, but still deal with this every day, then this training is for you. Well, I often have clients that are coming to me in the same situation. So, my goal is to show you why this happens, what's going on in your body, and the exact framework I use with my clients to finally get rid of their bloat for good. So, does this sound like you? You eat mostly whole foods. You've eliminated the foods you thought were causing problems. You've tried probiotics that you saw on social media, or maybe some digestive supplements, or maybe even adding fiber, and that made things worse. Maybe you've done an elimination diet or considered one, but you're still dealing with bloating that gets worse throughout the day, constipation or incomplete bowel movements that have you questioning if you want to run those errands or not, unpredictable digestion that maybe has you mapping out those restroom stops along the break to your to your errands. Maybe those food sensitivities or fear of eating food and you've just dwindled down those safe foods to barely nothing. Maybe your energy is so low by the afternoon and you have a growing list of just safe foods. What if it's not just the food? The question isn't what food is causing my bloating. It's why is my body struggling to process and move what I'm eating? So this is the woman I want to talk to today. Not someone who already knows that they need to stop eating processed food because that's easy to do. Not someone who simply needs another restrictive diet. I'm talking about the woman who's already done the work. She's eating healthy, but her body still isn't responding the way she expects. Let me explain. This is where I want to shift the conversation because digestion is a process. When you eat an apple, a potato, or a piece of chicken, your body has a job to do. It starts at your brain. Your brain smells the food, signals saliva, and it has to break down that food. It has to produce digestive enzymes, and it has to absorb the nutrients. And it has to move food through the digestive tract. And eventually it has to eliminate waste. And this should all happen within 24 to 36 hours. So instead of automatically blaming the food, I want to ask, is the digestive system functioning optimally? Is So if one or more of these processes isn't working well, you may experience symptoms even when you're eating nutritious foods. So your gut is a system. This is why I don't want to look at your bloating in isolation. Your gut doesn't operate independently from the rest of your body. So digestion, your hormones, metabolism, stress, sleep, nutrient status, and your microbiome all interact. So the goal is to figure out which piece are actually relevant to you. So consider number one. Bloating is influenced by multiple interconnected systems. Number one being motility, how efficiently food and waste move through your digestive tract. So number two, the digestive function, stomach acid, bile, digestive enzymes. Is there impairment there? So your gut microbiome, also the balance and activity of these microorganisms in your digestive tract, because there's actually more gut bugs than there are cells in our body. So think about that. Just robust. And then number four, metabolic and hormonal function. So our thyroid is impacted. Blood sugar regulation can affect how our bloating is. Reproductive hormones and stress physiology all impact how our body digests. And then nutrient and mineral status, the nutrients your body needs to support normal cellular and digestive function. So if you're nutrient deficient, then you're not going to be, you're missing minerals. You're going to not be able to have the digestive juices that you need. And so one of the first things I want you to understand is motility. So gut motility, are you having regular bowel movements? Do you feel completely emptied after a bowel movement? Is your bloating progressively worse as the day goes on? So motility is an important part of this picture because the digestive tract is designed to move contents through. So when that process slows down, it can contribute to discomfort and changes also in your gut microbiome. So your digestion has to move. If transit is slow, you may experience constipation, incomplete bowel movements, increased bloating throughout the day, abdominal pressure or distension, feeling like food is sitting in your digestive tract. So slow transit can also influence the environment of your gut microbiome. So what can slow motility? There isn't one universal cause of sluggish motility. That's why I don't want to give everyone the same supplement or the same protocol. We want to ask what's driving it in your body. And sometimes there's more than one contributor. So, for example, some potential contributors can include alterations in your gut microbiome. For example, I had a client who had overgrowth of gut bugs that was causing constipation. So once we eliminated that overgrowth, she was able to have better, stable bowel movements. H. pylori, gut pathogens, low stomach acid, bile flow, thyroid function, inadequate food intake. Ironically, yes. Low energy availability can all cause slow motility, chronic stress, poor sleep, changes in physical activity, certain medications, pelvic floor dysfunction, and hormonal changes all contribute to slow motility. So this is an area I pay close attention to. The goal isn't to automatically assume someone has low stomach acid or needs digestive enzymes. The goal is to look for patterns. What are your patterns? What does it look? What does your stool look like? How do you tolerate fat? How do you feel after protein? Do you have reflux? Do you have a history that could affect digestive function? Because that's where the bigger picture matters. Before we blame the food, let's ask, are we breaking it down? So digestion depends on stomach acid, bile, pancreatic enzymes, adequate digestive secretions, healthy motility. And when digestion isn't functioning optimally, symptoms may include feeling overly full after meals, bloating, reflux or digestive discomfort, changes in stool, difficulty digesting higher fat meals, feeling like protein sits heavily. And so welcome to your gut microbiome. So your microbiome doesn't exist in isolation. Again, it interacts with motility, digestion, immune function, the intestinal environment, inflammation, nutrient metabolism. And a disrupted gut microbiome can be both a contributor to and a consequence of digestive dysfunction. So the root question, this is where I want to move away from the idea that every digestive problem is simply SIBO. Sometimes we need to ask a bigger question. Why did the gut environment become imbalanced in the first place? So what factors may have contributed? And what needs to change so that we're not constantly repeating the same cycle? A diagnosis or finding can be important. Again, I don't diagnose or prescribe, but it may not explain the entire picture. If someone treats an imbalance and then the same symptoms return 6 months later, I want to understand why. So the goal isn't to just chase those symptoms. It's to understand the terrain that may be contributing to them. So instead of asking, how do I get rid of SIBO? How do I kill candida? What foods do I need to eliminate? Ask instead, why is my body vulnerable to this in the first place? What created the environment that allowed the problem to develop? And what do I do to prevent this in the future? So think of this check engine light theory. Your symptoms are information from your body. Just like your car's check engine light is a warning light that something is wrong in your car. You wouldn't simply just ignore it. The same principle applies to the body. Symptoms are signals. And the goal is to understand what they're signaling. You wouldn't ignore that car engine light or fear of the car overheating or catching on fire. But so many people ignore their check engine light. Until you find the root issues with digestive function, minerals, stress, your symptoms will keep coming back. So how do you like to fix the root issues of your bloating, fatigue, and weight loss resistance so that you can live your most vital life? All right, meet my client, M. She came to me with bloating and nausea, stomach pains after a round of recent antibiotics. And I found this out through a thorough health and history intake form. So she would have fatigue that would leave her crashed after work, like it was debilitating. She avoided so many foods for fear of just throwing up, honestly. And what we found was poor fat digestion, H. pylori, again, which is low stomach acid, causes low stomach acid, low overall gut bacteria. She also had E. coli, so an acute phase of E. coli that really was distressing her digestive tract and causing a lot of the symptomology she was having. Low gut immunity, her immune system, her SIG-A was really low here, and her high opportunistic bacteria, so these overgrowths pattern over here. So her health history, so we dug deeper and found that she had a recent vaginosis diagnosis and went on antibiotics. She also was a D1 athlete coming out of a stressful season, a stressful 4 years, quite honestly. And her hormone test tested for adrenal exhaustion. So she also had a history of antibiotic use as a kid and was often sick in college. This is also COVID, so very stressful time. So other relevant symptoms included anxiety, fatigue, midday bloating, brain fog, and painful periods. So instead of doing another kill phase with antimicrobial protocol, we focused on supporting her beneficial bacteria, crowding out the bad bacteria, rebalancing her minerals because of the adrenal dysfunction, and supporting easy to digest foods initially. So within 4 weeks, her brain fog and anxiety had lifted. Her bowel movements were consistent and her nausea disappeared because that E. coli, once we eradicated and allowed it to pass through, that was hugely impactful for her symptoms. And the nausea was a huge contributing factor to that. So over the next 8 weeks, though, by the end of her protocol, her afternoon bloating had decreased by 90%. Her crushing fatigue had disappeared. She was eating better, balanced meals, and she didn't have food fear anymore. So step one, what we did was we ran the right labs. We stopped guessing and looked at the body as a whole system. So gut, adrenals, hormones, and minerals. This gives us the objective data and a clear picture of what's really going on inside these systems. So the labs I use. And so I love foundationally is the GI map stool analysis test. I also like to run the metabolic and minerals test, so HTMA. The Dutch test, depending on symptoms, we may throw in a Dutch hormone test. And I also like to have a comprehensive blood labs, and that may include a full thyroid panel. It might just include, CBC or a CMP, iron. We want to see what nutrients, vitamin D, magnesium, folate, insulin, all those things. So those are the labs I love to use depending on symptoms. And so what's the difference between functional labs versus conventional labs? So functional labs tells us what imbalances are, and we're not looking for diseases. And we're looking for where your body should be optimally, where it's at its best health and where people feel their best is within that functional range. It also helps us see patterns that your doctor typically isn't going to pay attention to. It's going to assess the body and its system as a whole. So we're looking holistically, not just at one digestive pattern, or we're not just necessarily looking at, the adrenals in isolation. We're looking at your body as a whole system because it's so interconnected. And then this functional labs gives us the aha moment. So you're like, oh my gosh, that's why I've been feeling that way. That makes so much sense. And not only that, what's great about that is it helps really drive the personalized protocol, and it gives motivation around sustaining to that specific protocol. The reason why. And then step two, we put the pieces of the puzzle together. We connect your symptoms to your lab results so that it all finally makes sense. No more guessing what to take to reduce the bloating or Google searching why you're constipated and you can't lose weight. And then step three, your personalized roadmap is created. This is where everything comes together. Instead of a one-size-fits-all approach to your nutrition, lifestyle, and supplements, you get a step-by-step plan that supports your gut, your minerals, your adrenals, and restores your body's balance. So when you follow this framework, symptoms don't just disappear temporarily. Your whole body starts to balance itself out the way God designed it to, because innately, our body is designed to create balance. That's why clients not only get rid of their bloat, but also see improvement in their overall health. Energy improves, weight begins to shift, and confidence comes back. So if this resonated with you and you're realizing this is exactly what you've been missing, I want to invite you to apply to work together one-on-one and what this might look like. So Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, quoted, "All disease begins in the gut." All right, so now who is this for? This is for the woman who's done Google searching at midnight, who is ready to take action and stop DIYing and finally understand what's really going on from the root. You don't want another protocol or a supplement list. You want a clear plan designed for you with real support and actual answers. So here's how it works. This is my balance method. We go through 5 pillars, starting with resetting the foundation, because I really want to make sure that you have stability. So we're gonna go over nutrition, and we're gonna go over your sleep patterns and how you're resting. And we're going to discuss your movement patterns, also stress modification. So we're going to start at the foundations. And then pillar 2 is where we test. So we assess and we awaken. So this is where we turn insights into direction. And then once we have those labs back, a personalized protocol is created. And then we start on pillar 3, where we calm the chaos. We ease what feels loud. And so part of that protocol is really fine tuning for your body. So you're going to think less bloating, clear thinking, and steadier moods. And then pillar 4, we continue to restore the rhythm, because our body is a circadian pattern. We eat around the circadian The sun, we should be sleeping around the sun. So those night shift workers really struggle, sometimes with their health. But we want to restore rhythm with pillar number 4. And then pillar number 5, because we want to sustain this. We want this to be lasting for the rest of your life. So you understand how to respond when your body becomes out of balance so that you can just do what it needs innately to heal. So this is where we nurture and sustain, and we want to protect your progress. And that's why my plan is usually 6 months, because we'll go through probably 3 to 4 months and we finally get the pattern. And then the next couple of months is just fine tuning the routine, retuning the patterns and the schedules and the routines that you have, and so that you can sustain and create this for life. And so with that, you get education and resources, 12-week Rooted and Radiant Metabolic Gut Reset based on nutrition and lifestyle recommendations to help you in the bloat, the blood sugar roller coaster, and weight for good. So inside you'll find the Rooted and Radiant Society for accountability and support, and questions, macro recommendations, meal ideas and recipes for balanced hormones, thyroid, liver, and cells. So I have education on what nutrients are required to really support those organ systems of the body. And then an adrenal assessment. I love this because this helps you gauge progress and movement throughout this process. You'll take it in the beginning and midway through, but it also has guidance on movement. Whether strength training is recommended if your adrenals aren't tanked. There's a 8-week at-home strength training routine embedded in the program. So it's super great. Foundational supplements at practitioner discounts. We have lifestyle strategies to help support digestion and balanced hormones. I have my 7-day gut reset in there. So I have hormonal balancing recipes, and plan my hormonal balancing guide is in there as well. Tools that make all this feel realistic and sustainable, even if you're working, traveling, or juggling life, because it's right there whenever you need it. So if you're ready to finally stop guessing and actually fix your digestion and metabolism, apply here. So if you have any questions, again, I want you to feel free to email me at liveandorganically.jodi. So take this link real quick here and schedule a time to meet with me so that we can work one-on-one with you. Okay, thank you.